Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial in which I'll show you how to set up NetCode, Unity's multiplayer system, in just under 10 minutes. Now, just to be clear, this video won't teach you how to make a full multiplayer game under 10 minutes, obviously, but with that amount of time we can build a solid foundation on which you'll be able to build upon and create any type of game. This video is mainly for those who've already worked with multiplayer in the past, whether with Unit or Mirror. NetCode works quite similarly to those, so if you've used them before, you'll feel right at home. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to create and host a game session with one instance as host or server, and then connect to it from another instance as a client. Each player has their own character, represented by a capsule, and character movement is implemented and fully synchronized across all instances. In Unity Hub, let's start by creating a new project. We'll select the Universal 3D template, choose a name for the project, and then launch its creation. Once the project is open, the first thing to do is to install NetCode into the project. To do that, we can go into Window and Package Manager. On the left, we can choose Unity Registry and we can search for NetCode. The one we're interested in is NetCode for GameObjects, which we'll install directly. And once installed, we can close the manager and start setting up NetCode. We'll start by creating a new empty GameObject and name it NetworkManager. On this object, we'll add a component with the same name, NetworkManager, which is a script provided by NetCode. In this script, we can choose the transport type we'd like to use. In our case, that's Unity Transport. And by choosing this option, another script will be added called Unity Transport. And for now, there is nothing more to do in terms of network configuration. Let's now prepare our scene for multiplayer. We'll start by going into GameObject, 3D object, and we'll create a new plane which will serve as a ground for our players to move upon. We'll position it at 0, -1, 0. Now let's create the player. So let's go back into GameObject, 3D object, and for this tutorial we'll use a capsule. Name this object player, and then in the assets folder, right-click to create a new folder and name it prefabs. You can then drag and drop the player into that folder, which will create a prefab, and the player in the scene can now be selected and deleted. We won't need it anymore because the network manager will be in charge of spawning a player object for each player who connects to the server. But obviously our player needs a few more components. Let's start by adding a network object. This script allows the object to be identified and synchronized across all game clients. We'll also add a network transform, which will let us automatically synchronize position, rotation, and scale of the object across all clients. So this basically takes the transform component and shares that data with all other players connected on the server. Very important, on this script, make sure to change authority mode to owner, so each player is the owner of their own player object. Let's add another script called player movement, and which one we'll create ourselves. This script is optional. I'm using it today for the example, but you don't have to create it depending on the game you'd like to create. For this same reason, I won't write this script with you today. I'll just display it on the screen. You can pause the video to copy it if you want. It only contains two parts: a start method that colors your current player in red, so it's easier to find yourself in the scene. And the update method is a very simple movement system using the horizontal and vertical axis. Save this script and go back to Unity. In our network manager, we can drag the player prefab we just created into the default player prefab field. And this way, the network manager knows which object to spawn whenever a player connects. Before we go any further, let's test what we have so far. So simply hit play. And in the hierarchy, you can select the network manager and click on the Start Host button right here. You should now see a red capsule appear, which you can move using the arrow keys. So it works. We were able to create a server, or more precisely a host, directly from Unity. Because players don't have access to the Unity editor, so we need to add buttons into our game to host a game or to join an existing server. We can exit play mode and let's create a new empty in the scene. We'll name it network start UI and we can add a script with the exact same name. Like the previous script, I won't write it with you today, I'm just displaying it on the screen. It's nothing complicated, we'll only use the onGUI method to create 3 buttons, one for each type of instance possible: server, host, and client. You can then save this script, go back to Unity, and now we can move on to the build step. We're going to build and compile our game so we can distribute it and other players can download the game and then just play with us. But right before we start the building process, let's make our life easier by going into Edit, Project Settings, Player Menu, and then on Resolution and Presentation, we can change the full screen mode to windowed. This will make it easier to test with multiple windows on the same computer. We can now close that window, go to File and Save Project to make sure our configuration is saved. Then let's go build our game, so we can click on File and Build and Run. The first time you use this menu, a File Explorer will pop up asking where you want to build the game. By default, it opens your project folder. So you can create a new folder, name it Build, and inside this folder you can just name the executable file of your game, for example, game, which will create a game.exe file on Windows. The building process will launch right away, and once it is done, a new window will open with the game we just compiled. So now we have access to the 3 buttons, host, client, and server, generated by the last script we created. And let's say this window will be the host. So we click on the first button, which will make a character appear. And in the Unity editor, we can press play. We'll see the exact same result with 3 buttons, but this time we'll connect as a client. By clicking this button, we can see that I am in the same session as another player. My character is red on the left, and another character is just over here. It represents the one from the other instance. And if one of the players moves, you'll see the movement is synchronized across all instances. And that's it. We now have a working foundation using NetCode that allows us to create a host and join the game as a client. You can now take this base project and do whatever you want with it. Add menus, combat, interactions, etc., whatever your game needs. I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more Unity tutorials. Thanks a lot for watching and see you guys next time. CodeFriend out.